Paul Revere's Ride by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow.
Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere on the 18th of April, 175. Hardly a man is now alive.
Who remembers that famous day and year he said to his friend, if the British march by land received from the town tonight, hang a lantern aloft in the belfry arch.
Of the Norse church tower as a signal light, one if by land and two if by sea, and I on opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread alarm through every Middlesex village and farm.
For the country folk to be able to arm, then he said good night, and with muffled oar silently rowed to the Charleston shore just as the moon rose over the bay, where swinging wide at her moorings lay.
The Somerset British man-of-war, a phantom ship with each mast and spar across the moon like a prison bar, and a huge black hulk that was magnified by its own reflection in the tide.
Meanwhile, his friend through the alley and street wanders and watches with eager ears, till the silence around him he hears the muster of men at the barrack door.
The sound of arms and the tramp of feet and the measured tread of the grenadiers marching down to their boats on the shore. Then he climbed to the tower of the church, up the wooden stairs with stealthy tread.
To belfry shaver overhead, startled the pigeons, feathered perch on sombre rafters that round him made of masses of moving shape from shade.
By the trembling ladder steep and tall, the highest window in the wall, where he paused to listen and then looked down a moment on the roofs of the town.
And the moonlight flowering over all, beneath in the church lay the dead, in their night encampment on the hill, wrapped in silence so deep and still.
That he could hear, like a sentinel's tread, the watchful night wind as it went creeping along from tent to tent, as seeming to whisper all is well, a moment only feeling the smell.
Of the place, an hour, and the secret dread of the lonely belfry and the dead, for suddenly all his thoughts are bent on a shadowy something far away, where the river widens to meet the bay.
A line of black that bends and floats on a rising tide and a bridge of boats. Meanwhile, imperant to mount and ride, booted and spurled with heavy stride on the opposite shore up with Paul Revere.
Now he patted his horse's side, now gazed on the landscape far and near, then impetuous stamped the earth, and turned and tightened his saddle girth, but mostly he watched with eager search.
The belfry tower of the old North Church, as it rose above the graves on the hill, lonely and spectral, and somber and still, and low as he looks on the belfry's height, a glimmer and then a gleam of light.
He springs to the saddle, the bridle he turns, but lingers and gazes till full on his sight. A second lamp in the belfry burns, a hurry of hoofs in a village street.
A shape in the moonlight, a bulk in the dark, and beneath from the pebbles and a passing spark, struck out by a steed that flies fearless and fleet. That was all, and yet through the gloom and the light, the fate of the nation was flying that night.
And the spark stuck out by the steed in his bite, kindled the land into flame with his heat. He has left the village and mountain steep, and beneath him tranquil and broad and deep.
Is the mystic meeting the ocean tides, and under the alders that skirt its edge, now soft in the sound, now loud in the edge, is heard the tramp of a steed as he rides.
It was 12 by the village clock tower as he crossed the bridge to head for town. He heard the crowing of the cock and the barking of the farmer's dog. He felt the damp of the river fog and that rises when the sun goes down.
It was one by the village clock when he galloped into Lexington. He saw the gilded weathercock, and the meeting house windows blank and bare gazed at him with a special glare.
as if they already stood aghast at the bloody work they would look upon. It was 2 by the village clock when he came to the bridge in Concord town.
He heard the bleat of the flock and the tweet of the birds among the trees, and felt the breath of the morning breeze belling over the meadows brown, and one was safe and asleep in his bed, who at the bridge would be the first to fall, who that day would be lying dead, pierced by a British musket ball.
You know the rest in the books you have read, how the British regulars fired and fled, how the farmers gave them ball for ball from behind each fence and farmyard wall.
She's in the red coat down the lane, crossing the fields to emerge again. Under the trees at the turn of the road, only pausing to fire and load.
So through the night rode Paul Revere, and so through the night went his cry of alarm to every Middlesex village and farm. A cry of defense and not fear, a voice in the darkness, a knock at the door, and a word that shall echo forevermore.
We're born on the night wind of the past, through all your history to the last, in the hour of darkness and peril, and need the people will waken and listen to hear the history, hearing hoof beats of that street, and the midnight ride
Message of
Paul Revere.
Good job.